Welcome back to JBSports. I'm your host, John Burton, with my guest. So,
Josh Hurd here. Yep.
it's been a while since he's been on, since we were in high school, actually. Now we're in
Indeed.
college doing our different things. Josh becoming a great college basketball player, of course, and me just sticking with the podcasting. But last time we talked, I think it was about the draft, if I remember more like. It was a little bit about the playoffs, but more about the draft.
I agree. We it's been close to a year now, and I'm happy to be
Yeah.
back. We were in high school picking our colleges, and now here we
Yeah.
are about to be sophomores. So it's been quite the ride, but I'm
Yeah.
always good to be here. So
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy, but as
yeah.
we know, even crazier NBA playoffs right now.
Yes.
Actually, like looking like a better playoffs than last year. Last year wasn't bad, but it didn't have as many like good series as so far. So
Yeah, this has been quite the playoff so far. I mean, besides the Thunder Grizzlies, Thunder obviously have gone with the sweep already, so the Grizzlies are knocked out. But besides that, every playoff has been a very competitive and very fun to watch, especially when you look in the West. That's all exciting, and even in the East, every no sweeps yet. So yeah,
yeah, we'll start off with the East. First game, first series that might look like a sweep is the Cavaliers versus Heat.
yeah,
Of course, Cavaliers highlight of the season is trading Jimmy Butler away to the Warriors.
yes,
And they got Wiggins, which is a good piece, but definitely not the piece that can beat the Cavaliers. So far, they've just been outmatched. Hero has
yep,
been very good. Bam's been pretty good in his own right, but I think the
yep.
Cavaliers just have too many stars.
I agree. I think that, the Heat added a nice piece, got Davion Mitchell from Toronto through
Mhm.
middle of the season. Davion Mitchell, great defender, great on-ball
Yeah.
guy, and can go get scores, but they just don't have enough firepower. Mitchell and Garland in the backcourt for the Cavs, just too powerful, and the Cavs are looking like they're going to roll through the Heat and just
Mhm.
make it a 4-0. And then they'll face the winner of Pacers Bucks. That's the 4-5 game, I believe, in
Yeah.
the East. So yeah,
Yeah, and just the Cavs have just been so good all season. Only good thing I could say about the Rockets against them is we were the first ones to beat them twice or something like that. I don't
right,
remember, was it
right.
something like Thunder and Cavs?
There you go.
Yeah, Davion Mitchell, great player. I know you liked him a lot out of Baylor, I believe, if I remember.
Yep, out
I
of
think
Baylor, exactly.
I think he loves his I love his like role there. He's really taken a player role that fits him really well.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Heat, they lost some of that on-ball grit. With Jimmy Butler, they needed someone that could really lock down, a star guard, and you saw that in the play-in series with Mitchell. Really got into Trae Young, and just also took over the fourth quarter. And he's got a lot of firepower. The thing is, you just need to start building. If you're the Heat, you really need to start looking in the next season how you can build around Hero, Bam, Mitchell, these guys. Like, how can you support these guys? And when you look at the modern NBA, like, do you keep do you keep building with these guys, or do you look to go get a guy in a trade, or do you go and look in free agency? These are the decisions I think that the Heat are going to need to make. Like, do you keep Bam and Hero around, or do you go get a guy like KD or
Mhm.
someone with some really firepower? So it'll be interesting to see, what you do. I like the Heat a lot. I like their play style. Obviously, Spoelstra's a great coach, but yeah, it'll just be interesting. Some of these teams that are in the bubble, kind of once they get in the playoffs with the play in, like they don't get a good draft pick. So they're kind of in this middle range, right? And you know a little bit about that with the Rockets. Yeah.
Yeah. Playing is it's so weird for me. I don't really like it because I feel like if you're the seventh and eighth, like if it's usually it's a good enough gap because like you see the teams like the Mavericks getting in and the Mavericks, no offense to them and their fans, had no right to be in the playoffs. Like not because they're
Right.
not good, but they have so many injuries it just wouldn't be fair.
It's a
So
great
that's why I
point.
always thought like seventh and eighth should just get in. But
Very good point.
yeah, they NBA will do their things. But I'm thinking the Cavaliers probably finish this.
Yeah. I got Cavs and four there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cavs definitely in four. It's just they've been too good.
Too good.
And
Indeed.
Donovan Mitchell, dog. I remember seeing him on the Jazz against the Rockets
So good.
me a few times, but
So good. Yeah.
Harden was
He's
still cooking back then. All right, this series is a little more personal for you because it involves your team.
yeah. I
Pacers
do. I
Bucks.
I do have some Bucks loyalty a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is a great series, though. I mean, like these teams are very different, but match up relatively well.
Mhm.
And so, right, you look at Giannis, top three player in the league,
Yes.
you know, top three in MVP voting this season, and you look at that and you're not really matching anybody well with him on the Pacers. I mean, you have Siakam, right? You have some of these guys, but there's no one that can really stop him. But on the other end, the Bucks are having trouble with the Pacers' depth, I think. Right? The
Mhm.
Pacers are really handling, right? They're saying, we're gonna let Giannis go get his. Who's gonna beat us? And the reason that the Bucks won that game in the series because Gary Trent stepped up and knocked down 9 threes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
these are the type of things that the Bucks are going to need. Like Giannis is going to get his. Who is going to step up around him and really help? What do you think about that?
I fully agree with that. I do think that the Pacers they just made a really good depth. They just found a bunch of like good players through draft and free agency. I know Mathurin, he's been pretty good this
Great point. Yep.
season. He was a very good addition, and I just think they're highlighted by their depth a lot of the time. So I think that's something that helps them a lot. Bucks, you guys, of course, Giannis, amazing player. You lose Chris Middleton to
Right. You get
trade.
Dame.
You bring in Kuzma, and we know how Kuzma's been playing so far this
Yeah.
series. So
Yeah.
you got some pieces. I think the problem is one, the depth, and two, I think your team just doesn't have the connection it used to have, especially that championship year.
I agree.
Um, and I think just some things aren't clicking. And I don't know how Giannis is feeling because I know there's been reports that maybe he might be gone soon, but this I don't know if this will help, but I think the Bucks can still be very great. I mean, Giannis can just bring you to the playoffs alone, but they definitely need to
hmm
find a piece like a Chris Middleton to help Giannis along the way.
I agree. I think you're missing that, and you're missing more. I think more than Chris is you're missing that just two-way excellence of Drew Holiday.
Oh yeah, Holiday. Yeah,
And like you're not going to be able to replace them with these DJ Augustines. Although I love Kevin Porter, I think Kuzma can bring some stuff. I think
yeah.
Portis can bring some stuff. And then you have Dame, and you just look at this team, and you're like, right, this team should be honestly winning more playoff games than they are. And so you look at that. You can look at coaching, or you got Rivers and Darvin Ham in there, like So it's like it's
Mhm.
interesting. I
Yeah,
think the Pacers' depth. If I had to make my prediction for this one, though, JB, I think the Pacers' depth might carry them through, and
yeah.
I'll go Pacers in six.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd probably go similar. I usually think Giannis wins a game or two just off himself, and Trent
Yeah.
or Kuzma probably steps up a single game. But
Sure.
after that, Pacers probably got him white, which means they would probably go against the Cavs, and that would be a great series.
That'll be a very fun series, no doubt.
Next series, Knicks Pistons, actually a game going on right now.
Yeah, I believe it's at half. Yep.
Yeah, Pistons lead. I mean, no, sorry, Knicks lead 50 to 43. Knicks lead this
hmm
year 2-1. Um,
Yep.
Big thing for the Knicks was adding Karl Anthony Towns. I think
Yeah.
what they always have been struggling on, especially last year, was a dominant center. Mitchell Robinson, not bad. He's a good player. He just
Right.
got injured too much, and they just didn't have that score there. Did have to give up some pieces like Dante DiVincenzo, who's a great piece. Randall, who was a good piece, but also was an injury prone kind of guy. But I think Towns was a great addition, really made him pop this year.
Yeah, and if you look at that, you like that's a for me that's a questionable trade for the Timberwolves to make,
Mhm.
throwing away Towns for Randall, but we'll get into that a little later when we talk
Mhm.
about the West. But obviously, Jalen Brunson, I'm sorry, one of the premier uh, point guards in the league. And then you have OG and Anobi, obviously one of the best, slashers, wings,
Mhm.
3 and D kind of guy. And then their pieces, like they kind of give you flashes of the Pacers just with a little more firepower with Brunson and
Yeah.
Towns. Obviously, you have Hart, Mitchell Robinson, Cameron Payne, like Hart and Payne, like those are the guys that are sneaky and going to give you some good pieces there. Obviously, you lose DiVincenzo, but you get Bridges,
Yeah.
right? Um, and so that's the type of thing you're looking at. And then you look at a completely different play style in the Pistons team.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Pistons?
Pistons, bringing back that kind of bad boy era vibe. They're very
Yep.
physical, which, my play style, especially in high school, everyone knows I'm a little more physical. Made Brody mad a few times, but It's a good play style. I like how they're kind of bringing it back. I like how the refs, like especially the game yesterday with the Clippers Nuggets, they didn't throw anyone out after fight. I thought that was pretty good officiating.
I
But
agree. Yep.
just a big physical team. I think they're really hurting without Isaiah Stewart there right now. I believe he's hurt.
Mm.
So I think
Hmm.
that's been a problem for him with defense. But Cade
Right.
Cunningham, he's a bucket. Cade is a certified star. He's a dog. And I think
Yeah.
they just have a bunch of good pieces all around. If they had Ivy, I think this might be like a little different this series so far because he's a big piece of them. But overall, their team's really like structurally sound. They got a lot of good pieces. I think
Great pieces.
one or
Yeah.
two Ivy comes back, maybe get one or two more people, and I think this team is a real contender next year. Which is
I
weird
agree. Yeah.
because the Pistons.
Right. Historically, the Pistons in the past couple of years have been
Yeah.
atrocious.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting how some of these teams build. I agree. I mean, I think the Pistons, right, a lot of young
Hmm.
talent, right? Duran, Cunningham, you
Hmm.
know, Asar Thompson. Like, but then you're pairing them
Um,
with some more vets like Schroeder, Malik Beasley, Tobias Harris, and Isaiah Stewart. And you kind of got this clash. Obviously very athletic. Cunningham, Thompson, Ron
mhm.
Holland, who was in the G League, and kind of is kind of part of their team now. I really like their kind of clash of young and veteran. Like
Mhm.
I just don't think that they're quite developed and mature enough yet to beat a team like the Knicks, who have seen some playoff experience, right? Seen got been exposed to that playoff atmosphere and kind of have a little bit more of that gamesmanship. I think once you get to the playoffs, like that is the stuff that really matters. So I'm gonna take Knicks in six with I think Pistons might squeeze out one more, but I think the Knicks just are too good.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Knicks in seven. I think Pistons are going
Okay.
to really make a big push these next few games after, just because it's going to be do or die, and usually players once they get to that moment, it'll be a pretty rough series. Especially they'll get more physical, but I think the Knicks will pull it out and go to the next round. And then against the next round, they'll either be against the Celtics or Magic. Celtics champions. They pretty
Yep.
much have the perfectly built roster in the league. Tatum. You have Brown, Horford, who's just always there, and Horford's
Just
amazing.
unreal.
Um, Derek White, who has come into his own stardom. Holiday, who we just
Yeah.
talked about, probably one of the best two-way players in the league, honestly. And just they got people on the bench, and it's just stacks and stacks and stacks. Peyton Pritchard, six man of the year. Like they just have.
It's just yeah. It's ridiculous when you look at the Celtics roster, borderline unfair. Well, I
Mhm,
mean, when you look at the pieces that they have, right? Jason Tatum, Jalen
mhm.
Brown, Porzingis, and then
Porzingis, too.
you have the best third option in the league in Derek White. I mean, any given night, one of these guys can give you 30 or 40. I
Yeah,
mean, on nights that, Jalen Brown's off, Tatum's gonna go. Tatum's off, then you got Pritchard, he's gonna go. Derek White can go for 40 and a couple of threes. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
these are the type of things. And then you look at the defensive end and you got Al Horford still being highly effective, Drew Holiday, the premier, defensive
yeah.
guard in the league, Tony Craig, Torrey Craig, I'm sorry. Baylor Shireman, like some of these guys can
They,
come in and give you
it's
some
just
life.
everywhere, and each player knows how to play their role perfectly. And if
Great
you
role.
have to step up, someone does it. So they're just like, and they're
Exactly.
coaching. They keep picking up amazing coaches. Missoula, a little crazy, I think, has
Yeah.
does some
Uh-huh.
weird things sometimes, but
No
they
doubt.
just Brad Stevens, them, and like everything's just been perfect.
Great.
They just build
Just
everything great, and I wouldn't be surprised if they won the title again this year, but we'll get into that more. Um, and then on the other hand, Magic, another one of those young teams who
yep.
has been very good in the draft, but they were just plagued by injuries, and
Mhm.
they can't have Banchero and Wagner carry the whole team. It's worked one game, and it could work another two, but it's just hard for the Magic. I think their team is fun. They have a good story, but they just get hurt too much, and they got two stars trying to carry everyone else.
Yeah, they give you some flashes of the Pistons with a little more maturity, I think, and a
Mhm.
little more um, you know, just overall talent. When you look at Banchero, who's still, I think, trying to figure out his obviously a star in this league, but just still trying to figure out what his game looks like at the professional level. Franz Wagner, very mature, very uh Just developed game. Jalen Suggs is an exciting guard. I'm pretty sure Cole Anthony is hurt right now for them,
Yeah.
and that hurts. Like, having
Well,
just your point guard out.
he's so
Yeah,
underrated. I gotta try.
so
Yeah,
underrated.
he's
Yeah,
so underrated.
shout out. You got to shout out the UNC alums when you can, but then you got Anthony Black, like
Mhm.
some of these younger talents. Um, still in. Trying to think who else. Yeah, I mean, like it's just it's overall pretty sound team. Just they just don't have the firepower to compete with a team like the Celtics, and I'm even impressed that they snuck a game out of them.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I think one of like this playoffs is really like showing just the new generation of players and old generations. You got teams that are
yep.
older and have playoff experience versus the young teams, and you're really seeing the teams that are about to be the ones that start to take over, and the ones that are after these stars are gone are going to start going down. But I think I got Celtics in five. I don't think the Magic are able to squeak another one out.
I agree. I'll take Celtics in five, and they'll get a couple extra days rest here before they take on the Knicks. So
Yeah. First series West, we already know is over. Thunder Grizzlies. It was a sweep. Without Ja, the Grizzlies couldn't do anything, and with them, they had trouble anyways. So I think the Thunder are also one of like the most perfectly built teams. Half the time, it looks like an AAU roster though, where they're playing. And like
yeah,
Shea, MVP candidate. A lot of people say he does some foul baiting, which I can't really. I said it in an episode before. I can't really talk anything about it because I'm a James Harden fan and I'm a Nuggets fan.
sure.
So he was
That's where
doing
he
it at
made
a
his
point.
made his money.
So
Yeah,
it gets to a point, but I had a strong feeling they'd sweep. I think the Grizzlies, they're not fine in the West, like Jaw tried to say. Um,
indeed.
I knew they'd get sweep. They're not the Thunder, and Thunder have so many good pieces, and they all just complement each other perfectly.
And I think the Thunder are the perfect testament to this clash of the new NBA, right? So
Hmm.
like you saw a movement in the NBA in the early 2020s of let's go get a team of superstars. So you look at the Nets, let's go
Yeah.
get Kyrie, Harden, and KD. Let's put them together. Didn't work out. You look at the Clippers. Let's go get Kawhi and Paul George and Russ and Harden, and let's see how that's gonna. It's not gonna work, And I think
The
when you look
Suns.
at the teams that have won, it's the Celtics, it's the Bucks who have grown through the
Yeah.
draft and made careful and concise trade decisions, and you go get a piece like Drew Holiday and you finish it out. You know what I mean? And these are the type of teams that are winning finals games and
Yeah.
finals and NBA championships, right? It's not the teams that are the super teams that are developed. And I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I think that's actually something we highlighted last year. I think we said that we think the better teams are the ones that just built from the ground up. I think we
Yep,
said
we did. Yep.
homegrown talent drafted. And the Thunder, they just were the personification of that. They traded, which everyone thought was crazy.
Right.
They traded anyone
You
away that could get them picks, and it's worked out perfectly. Bringing SGA, which underrated talent when he was traded. I don't know why the Clippers wouldn't let him go, but I guess they
sure.
didn't think he'd work out. But
Yeah.
really just perfectly built roster. Holmgren's a beast. Everyone there is just
Jalen Williams, you got to shout out Jalen
all of them are
Williams, who
just
was just
beasts.
took off from obviously had a
Yeah.
underrated career at Santa Clara, went a little bit of, I think, late first round. Then you have the other Jalen Williams from Arkansas, gives you a little firepower off the bench.
Mm.
Aaron Wiggins, Alex Caruso was a great trade for them.
Caruso,
Like
and he's literally the oldest player, and he's like,
yeah,
wow, I was like 26, something like that, somewhere around that age, and it's crazy. Their team is going to be good for a while, just because
yep.
the
Lou
money might
Dort,
eventually be a situation, but if they can build enough chemistry, I feel like a lot of those players are the type will be like, I'll take a pay cut for all of us to stick together. And if they
great
can,
point.
they're all in their young 20s. It's going to be a Thunder dominated league for the next few years.
100%.
Like we don't have to predict what the games would be because it's already over. But next game had a really exciting end last night. Nuggets Clippers. Nuggets really in controversy lately, firing their coach Mike Malone in the last few
Yep.
games, which is kind of showing a lot right now with Nikola Jokic basically having to coach the team. Series is
Hmm.
tied 2-2, so Jokic is doing his job good enough. You have the
Right.
back coaches, but most of the players just
Yeah.
respect Jokic more, so listen to him. Um, Nuggets, they're one of those teams where they did draft well and they brought some pieces in, but just something isn't clicking anymore. I think Westbrook was a good addition, but something just is up about that. And their team, Murray got hurt again, and he's been a little shaky. Jokic, it's Jokic. I mean, he's amazing. And some of the other young pieces are doing well. But I think honestly, a piece that really hurt them losing was Cardwell Pope. He was really
Interesting.
integral
Yeah.
in their, I think, finals win. I think he played very good defense, and just the Nuggets just haven't been the same since that finals run.
I think you look at a team like the Nuggets, right, coming off of NBA Finals in 2022,
Hmm.
and that you're going to look at Jokic as being one of obviously the best, if not one of the best players in the league. And so obviously he's in MVP talks with Shea. I personally think Jokic, if he hasn't won as many MVPs as he already won, he's a clear cut MVP, but a little voter fatigue. I think you got to give it to Shea, which is fair.
Yeah,
Shea's had a great year. But you look at the Nuggets and they're returning their key pieces. Jokic, Murray, Gordon, Christian Braun, Porter Jr. You know what I mean? These are guys, DeAndre Jordan. And then you look at some of the talent they brought in, like Julian Strothwalder, Jalen Pickett from Penn State, Peyton Watson, just to name a few there. And you look at that, and then you look at the interesting kind of contrast is the Clippers roster,
yeah.
where I think somehow we all forgot how legendary of a player Kawhi Leonard is.
Yeah, I think just the injuries, and I feel like we've never seen a player that can be injured and hurt for so long and come back and just
Yeah,
get on the dot again. Kawhi is in, I mean, he's a robot. We all make the joke, but he really
yeah.
is the machine. I don't understand that, man.
I mean Kawhi. I mean, you look at him. I mean, it's like just elite defender, and then he will just go down and he will casually score ethical, just mid
Yeah,
ranges on you.
just
Super, just
easy
normal.
buckets,
Yep.
and
No foul baiting.
it won't
One
make
dribble pull ups.
just won't make anything. Won't He's like a Timmy Duncan
Exactly.
kind of just stone cold. Just do what he needs to do, win the game if he can. And oddly enough, he kind of showed more emotion recently when he said, I mean, he didn't really show a lot, but he like thanked the fans, which I mean, it's just Kawhi. He's just a robot.
He's just Kawhi.
He's just cold. And
You
he's
still then have Harden on the team, who
and
is, yeah, one of the
looking
best
kind of
scorers of
like
all time.
Rockets Harden a little bit. I mean, it
Yeah,
still makes
showing
the team.
flashes.
I'm really hoping he comes back to us like his last year of his career, just to have a little reunion there. But yeah, and the Clippers roster is interesting. They got a lot of good pieces. I think a lot of
Simmons, yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
Ben Simmons is interesting because he just keeps going to different teams and it works out and it doesn't work out, and it's just a really interesting thing because the Nets, we all know that famously was really bad.
Right.
He was out constantly with just like back spasm and stuff. But one player I think has been pretty frugal and has come into his own this year. Norman Powell.
Great
He has
point.
been very, very good. I hit a lot of good threes last night. Unfortunately, I didn't come out with the win, but he brought that lead back down. Of course, Jokic famously did the fadeaway, which I thought was going to go in just because it was Jokic, but
Right.
Gordon was there just for the dunk. But they got a lot of sneaky pieces. I mean, Kawhi, of course, Harden, Simmons.
I'd like to shout out Chris Dunn, who has done
Yeah,
an excellent
Chris
job on
Dunn.
Jamal Murray. Yeah, all
Yeah,
series. Patty
Zubac,
Mills, some veteranship.
uh,
Zubac, we haven't talked about him. Yeah.
Bogdanovich, who's just a good little shooter. Batum, he's chill. Derek Jones Jr., absolute athlete. Cam Christie isn't bad, and you just got some people that like kind of flow out the roster at the end. But you just see a lot of veteran presence and some young players who will be good once they get their time. But I don't think this is a team where it's as much younger players. I mean, they trade away Bones Highland, if I remember correctly. Um, and a lot of their younger guys aren't the premier guys yet, so maybe they can kind of get into their own from learning from Kawhi and Harden. But this is a team
Hmm.
where it's more of that old style. It's more of the old veteran players, that super team still. I mean, of course, they traded away Paul George to the
Hmm.
76ers, which we've seen how that worked out. He's doing better on his podcast than he is on the court. Um, but it's just a team where you probably want to look to get some younger pieces sooner rather than later. But in
Yeah, I
playoffs, they're
agree.
not looking bad. They're actually looking way better than I thought they'd look this playoff
I
series.
completely agree. I thought that they faced a formidable Nuggets team who might have swept or even made it
Mhm.
five or a quick six. This series is going to go seven, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
I just don't know which way it's going to fall. I go back and forth every day. I look at Jokic and I'm like, how do you bet against Jokic? And then you look at Kawhi and how do you bet against Kawhi? So right now, if I had to make my prediction, and I'm gonna look at the fact that the Nuggets fired their NBA championship head
Mhm.
coach, and I'm gonna take the Clippers in seven, and
Yeah,
I think the Clippers are gonna move on.
I agree with that. I think the Nuggets, I mean, they're 4-5, so it wouldn't be a complete upset, but I think just the coaching down the stretch, I think, is going to be a really big hampering on them. So even if they did make it into the second round, the Thunder, I think, would be pretty bad for them. But I
Mhm.
think Nuggets, I think without that coaching presence, like Jokic can do as he can do whatever he needs to do, but I don't think it'll be good at the end. So I will agree with Clippers in seven. Next
Nice.
series, a little more fun, a little more surprising, I think.
This is interesting. Yeah.
Lakers versus Timberwolves. Timberwolves, again, we said they traded Karl Anthony Towns, which was a little questionable for them, especially where they just got last year in the playoffs. He was a big part of that. They keep Rudy Gobert, defensive player, but anywhere else on the field, he's kind of just like he's there. We know scoring wise for him. I mean, somehow he had a fadeaway against Jokic last year. That was the insane
Right. That
thing.
was nuts.
Uh, Anthony Edwards is really the one of the people you talk about. Randall, Dante DiVincenzo, who's been pretty good defensively, and from three, he's been a pretty good piece for them. And Rob Dillingham, out unfortunately, which would have been a big piece. Jaden McDaniels joke last year, but I like to say you might have Luka Doncic, but they have Jaden McDaniels. Um, Great piece for them, and I think all around they just have a really strong team. Lakers, strong team, of course, highlighted by LeBron. You can't forget him. Luka, that
Right.
trade was insane during the season. Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, some good young players, but I feel like the Timberwolves just have better chemistry right now. They also have Naz Reid, so I think they just are have more chemistry, and I think the Lakers are just really struggling to keep Anthony Edwards down no matter what they throw at him.
So I'm gonna look at the series, right? And the way I see it, if LeBron has a 38 point performance in game three and you're not winning that as a Lakers team, like you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Right. And so I look at that and I say, right, clearly something's not flowing for the Lakers that
Mhm.
that should be right. Like, obviously the big news that's going to highlight that trade is the Luka trade.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's been a lot of discourse about that. And but then you look at the other side, and obviously the Timberwolves made a questionable, but they're here in the playoffs
Yeah.
decision to give away Cat and go get Randall and DiVincenzo. Obviously, I think the Timberwolves have drafted well in recent years. Terrence Shannon out of the draft this year was a great thing. Same with Rob Dillingham, as we talked about earlier. Tristan Newton, and Jalen Clark, who I believe is hurt for them.
Yeah.
But he was a good pickup. So I look at the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, I think they're a little deeper. Um, it's just hard when you look at LeBron and Luca
Yeah.
and how did these guys lose in the first round? But
It's
it might happen.
I just think they're too much of a styles clash.
Yeah, good point.
LeBron and Luka both scores. LeBron, great all-around player. I mean, he's amazing. He's one of the best of all
Hmm.
time.
Hmm.
As much as you might not like him, you can't disagree with that. I just
Yes.
think him and Luka, they're both players that can score but also like to pass, but they can't choose who they want to score between the two. You see many times where they're just like passing back and forth, and
Yeah.
that just confuses the team, which there was a clip where JJ Redick, of course, in the playoffs was
Great.
really annoyed because Hachimura
Hot.
didn't
Yeah.
know what he was doing. And I think just the confusion of both two, and I think not having enough time during the season to really click, I think is what's hurting them this series. And I think maybe next year is when they can start to be I mean, they're already a formidable team, but they can really be really good because then Luca and LeBron have that time to get to know each other. Because even though a lot of people said like they're winning a championship because they got the two, how the team plays together is a huge point. So I think that's just
Yeah.
the highlight of the series. I think it's the team's chemistry within each other and the players and the coach.
Yeah. And if you're the Lakers, in my opinion, you're the Lakers front office. I mean, your time to win a championship is narrow. You have 3 years max.
Yeah.
And so LeBron is like, regardless of if he retires in the next 3 years, right? Somehow he is still coming back year after year after
Mhm.
year. But you're looking at next year and maybe the year after to be
Yeah.
able to pull that out. So I think that is
Mhm.
that is a big question for them. Like, what are you going to do to surround LeBron and Luca right now to win a championship or at least be in contention? So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Lakers just It's not that they're missing a piece. I really just think it's the working together. They just need to figure it out in the off season. They can win the series. I personally think the Timberwolves might squeak it out. I'm gonna be honest,
Hmm.
in seven. I think that Luca and LeBron is gonna make it hard for the Timberwolves to get him out, but I think the Wolves and Anthony Edwards can get it done in seven. As much as
Yeah,
I think there's some Lakers fans and LeBron fans, but
I think the game today really determines that. I
yeah.
mean, even if the Lakers win, they're still calling back just to even it. I'm going
Mhm.
to go Timberwolves in six.
Okay. And then the last one, the one that
Here
hits
we
me the
go.
most, my Rockets versus the Golden State Warriors. Golden State, of course, without Jimmy Butler beating us last night, which was very rough to see.
Sure.
Rockets have done a complete like
Yeah.
180. They went from being a fully scoring, no defense team to now fully defense, not really scoring because Jalen Green can score, Amen Thompson can score. They just haven't been consistent. Amen, I understand more. He's been in the league for
Hmm.
barely any time. Green, on the other hand, he's gotten better, but his inconsistency is just too great to see. I mean, great game two. Really, really amazing playing there. Last night we stopped Curry for a little bit, but then of course and the inevitable happens almost every time Curry starts
There
getting,
is no such thing as a Curry stopper.
yeah.
No such thing.
There was
Doesn't exist.
one game where we held them to like three, but I think that was just one off. But Curry, he'll
Yeah.
come back. He'll come back and bite you. Golden State winning last night. Rockets were one of those teams that's really young, that is building well. I think one of our big problems, I will say this to this day, is Freddie VanVleet. Love the guy, love what he's done to kind of rebuild us back up, but he is just not helping with some of his performances. One game, I think he was 2 for 13 from three in the first game, which usually is a team stat, not a singular player stat. He shot more threes than Curry that game, which if you're shooting more threes than the greatest player of all time, something's not going right that game.
Right.
And I think we just don't have the experience. Warriors, kind of an older team, Curry, Draymond. You have Looney still, which has been a great piece. I think he's been an underrated piece throughout their whole, you know, the whole terror years. And I think Warriors do win this, unfortunately. As much as it pains me to say, I would love for my Rockets to win. We're just too unexperienced, and Curry owns us. I gotta say, 0-3 in the playoff series against Curry. Could have been
Yeah.
one year if Chris Paul didn't get injured. So which is again, if somehow we do pull this out and people blame it on Jimmy Butler, that'll be my excuse. I'll be like, hey, if Chris Paul didn't get hurt that year, we probably would have won. But yeah, I think Warriors probably get it, and I'll give them six.
This is a tough one because I think if you're the Rockets, like you would so much rather play almost any other team. Like you would
Hmm.
so much rather take the Grizzlies, even take the Lakers or Timberwolves. I think Nuggets and Clippers you guys match up odd against. But I think you'd rather take almost any other team in the West. And so you get stuck with Curry as a 7 seed, right? So like it's not like you earn that one. And once you get to the playoffs, it's anyone's game.
Yeah,
So
it's not like we
I'll
got
look at
good
I agree.
matchups. We didn't get any easy one. We got probably the worst one, not only because they're good, just because of history. Because as Rockets players, even though it wasn't really during your time, you're still going to have that ideal that Curry. He's been historically amazing against us, so it's just in the back of
Right.
the head.
So I'll look at the Warriors and you see obviously Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, top 10
Mhm.
player, top, whatever. So you take away Curry and then you look at their roster. So when you have Butler hurt, right,
Mhm.
very minimal offensive, presence, right? You have
Mhm.
Pozminski, Braden Pozminski, probably
Heels.
butchering that one, but yeah, Pods. And then you have Green, Draymond Green, who's, not really your offensive guy, obviously a great defensive player, great energy guy. I bet you have some strong feelings towards
Yeah,
him.
I won't get into that
Um,
'cause I'll be going on for too long about that.
Quentin Post, their rookie out of Boston College, great shooter, but he's kind of been streaky. Like last night, he didn't have a great night offensively, but rebounded the ball very well. But then I like some of the Warriors' other pieces. They just don't have a lot of firepower, but they
Mm,
have healed. They had Moses Moody, Gary Payton stepped up. Like I love those three a
yeah.
lot, especially Moody and Payton. So, you look at that, and then I think the Rockets are kind of like the Pistons of the West. Like the
Hmm.
Rockets are they're scrappy, they're young, they're a little bit immature, but fiery
Oh,
and
yeah,
can get hot
100%
quick.
immature,
Yeah.
100%.
So, Green and Thompson always in the mix, scuffle with Draymond at the end of the game. Like I like Jabari Smith's game. I like
I love
Tari.
Jabari. He's
I
just too
like.
hot and old.
I agree. I like Cam Whitmore. Then you had your veterans like Aaron Holiday, Jeff Green. You know what I mean? So it's like it's just an interesting clash of veteranship with the Warriors and just championship playoff experience versus just young, ambitious, a little immature, Rockets team. I think when I look at it, Curry is just
Too
that
good.
good.
Just too
He's
good.
just there's just not a Curry stopper. There, Fred VanVleet, you can set anyone. Amen
Matthew
Thompson, however
Dellavedova,
good as
come
you
out of
want.
retirement, please.
Exactly, right?
You need him.
They're just too good. I'll go Warriors in six.
Yeah, yeah. As much as it pains me to say that, that just has this going to be the outcome of it. So we have next second round. We'll have
Yeah.
Thunder and Clippers. We'll have Timberwolves and Warriors, which will be a nasty series. That'll be a fun one. Anthony Edwards versus Draymond is going to be. There's got to be an ejection in that series. I just feel it.
Hmm.
Cavs and Pacers, and then we will have Knicks and Celtics. Knicks Celtics. That'll be a fun series. But
Yep.
overall, I think there's going to be some good series past this. Trying to think of like probably the most interesting series, which I think will be Timberwolves and Warriors 100%. I think just the styles clashes will be great. Pacers, Cavs, pretty easy series. I think the Pacers can go pretty far, but not farther than a team like the Cavs. And
The
then
Cavs are just too good. Yeah.
I really do think it'll be the Cavs and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Hmm.
Just too good, both teams.
I agree. I'll look at the West and I'll say, right, Thunder are going to run into either the Nuggets or the Clippers. I think we
Mm,
both think the Clippers are going to squeeze that one out. And I think the Nuggets, or I think the Thunder will have no issues. To
mm.
be quite honest, I think they have too many weapons to throw
Yeah,
against Kawhi, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams,
Bruce.
and just multiple guys. Case and Wallace, like, you can just mix it up at what you throw at Kawhi, and
Mhm.
then Harden you can neutralize as well.
Yeah,
Um, so I'll take the Thunder moving on, and then I'll look at Timberwolves Warriors. Do I really think the Timberwolves can go to the Western Conference Finals? I don't know. I just think they got a good draw playing against the Lakers and the
yeah.
Warriors. So I'll take them to the
Mhm.
Western Conference Finals, and then I think the Thunder had no issue
Yeah.
moving on there. So they'll be in the NBA Finals. Then I'll look at Cleveland Pacers. Pacers maybe take two games,
Mhm.
maybe not. I think Cleveland wins in
Yeah.
six, maybe five, and then you look at Knicks. Celtics is too good. I'll take Celtics in six,
Yeah.
and then I'll take Celtics and move on. I'll look at a Celtics Thunder NBA Finals, and that'll be absolute cinema.
Yeah.
So
All right, we're back. We had to quickly restart the Zoom because Zoom had to make a time constraint on it. But we went to the finals. I believe we said it will be Celtics versus Thunder, which will be absolute cinema.
yep,
That series will be interesting because I think we agree they're probably like the two best built rosters. They have
yeah.
from up down. You're gonna have Chet versus Al Horford, which honestly weird matchup, but or him versus Kristaps, but it'll be funny.
I
Um,
think him versus Kristaps will be an
yeah.
interesting, like super similar builds. Kind of
Then
super interesting play styles. Yeah,
you're probably gonna have Drew Holiday on Shea, if I would think correctly, just because Drew is that defender. Tatum, Brown, they'll just pick up the Williams and just it's gonna be weird to kind of figure out these matchups between the two teams because you really, I think once you look down the rosters, they have players that can go against each other really well. But I think this is going to be one of those 7 game series. I don't think it's going to be any one of those teams dominate. They're both, which the Cavs probably, well, the were the best team in, the East, like during the season. But I think the Celtics are just
Celtics. Yeah,
better.
still.
It's just some games, it's just they're off. And Jason Tatum, of course, has to get back from his little injury. But once they get there, I think Thunder versus Celtics is going to be an insane matchup.
I agree. I'll look at right. You look at the Celtics and those defensive matchups. Like, who do you put on Shea? Right. So it's like you have weapons to throw there, and I think like that's where the Celtics are just so good. Like any given night, you could have Jalen Brown,
Mhm.
Derek White, or Drew Holiday, and you're just giving Shea different looks.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting. But then you look at vice versa, like Tatum, like you got Jalen Williams and you have Shea to throw there, and you
Mhm.
have Aaron Wiggins, you have Lou Dort to throw on
Yeah.
Brown. Like these are the type of things. Case and Wallace, can I think can handle Holiday when he on the
Mhm.
offensive end. So like I'll look at that, right? I think the Thunder might get off to a hot start, maybe win one, and then it will be a dogfight to two. Maybe they win the second one at home, but then I think the Celtics come right back and they'll win both at their place, and then you
Yeah.
look at that, and then it becomes a 3-game series, right? Who
Yeah.
can win? Who can win two?
It's it's going to be such a close series because both teams are just amazing in their own right. Coaching, both been pretty good. Building the team, like every part of their organization the last few years has been perfect for both teams. Player wise, it's just going to be a dogfight. I think I'll agree with you. Thunder, since they're younger, a little bit of a younger team might get out to a little quicker start, but I think
Hmm.
again the experience of the championship Celtics, they're gonna show like, all right, we've been here twice, won once, we lost one of the Warriors, but Curry was on a different time that year. But
Right.
I just think, like you said, it'll be a dogfight. Definitely to seven. I'm having struggles thinking if it's going to be the Celtics or Thunder, though. It's really back and forth because it'll be a dogfight. But that last game, just depending on how their stars play, it'll make a
Yeah.
whole difference.
Right. You do get home court advantage if you're the Thunder, which means something.
Hmm.
But I think if the Celtics can play it right and they win, if they can snag one early,
Hmm.
maybe at Thunder and make it 1-1 to start, and then they win both at home, they could win it at home in game six.
Yeah,
Even I do think it's so good that the series will go seven.
yeah,
You know what I mean? But I think I'll go Celtics in seven, and they'll go back to back, which
yeah.
will only have happened for the first time since the Warriors. So that's my
I'm
prediction.
I'm gonna have to go Celtics back to back too. I think the Thunder, like I said earlier, are gonna be a team that dominates the league for the next few years. But
Yeah.
I think just it's just like old Spurs type team where they're all really good. They all have chemistry. They're all like been in the league, so they know how it runs. They just know what it's like to be in the finals. Thunder, they'll play in the finals, but they don't have that like mentality of the finals yet. So I do
Right.
think Celtics win in seven. And then if it happens again next year, then we can talk about the Thunder maybe pulling it out and winning it. But I do think Celtics will win this year. I think Thunder, they've had a great season. They've had a great story coming back from what has happened in the past. And I just think they're a little too young.
I agree. Yep.
Yeah. So me and Josh are your our predictions out there.
Yep.
Yeah, Celtics winning in seven and being
Back
back
to back.
champs, which hurts them in the draft, which they don't really need a draft too crazy, but we will go into that real quick. Um,
Yep.
I think we know one of the big names. I think everybody knows it, Cooper Flag, which he did declare, which I was a little surprised about because I heard the rumors like if a certain team was probably going to get the number one spot, he wouldn't go into it. I think it was like Charlotte Wizards. If they got like the higher spots, they might not do it. But with Pelicans being there, I think that could be a big market, which Pelicans are rumored to possibly trade Zion during the off season, which
Mm.
would be
Hmm.
absolutely insane.
Right.
But
Be interesting to see where he lands.
yeah.
Yeah, you look at the draft this year, right, and just star after star after star. I mean, a little bit more of that heavy firepower than compared to last year. Obviously, I
Yeah.
think a little bit more of a stronger draft. Although you had some sneaky good prospects like Jared McCain coming out of there, like Tris or Stephon Castle. You know what I mean? These type of guys. So I think it's interesting. Obviously, you're going to headline it with Cooper Flag, Dylan
Hmm.
Harper, and Ace Bailey, the duo from Rutgers, obviously
Hmm.
elite. Dylan Harper is a pro. I mean, he is just super fluid guard and just can get to the basket, can score on all three levels. Stop and drop in three. Ace Bailey shows flashes of Kevin Durant, and just a total all around scorer. Um, Needs to probably work on that defensive effort side a little bit more, but
Hmm.
obviously can be super talented on that end as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll go into like top five in the order that, could sneak up a little bit because the draft lottery, there's been
Always
controversy with
crazy.
that, but it is what it is. Top five teams right now. Of course, five Philadelphia. Jared McCain, love that man. A dog. He's
Hmm.
great. Unfortunately got injured, so that did not help them, man. Just their
Yep.
team as a whole. Like I said, Paul George doing better on the podcast than he is on the court, which funny thing is he said he was going to focus on basketball and then unfortunately for him he got injured, but hopefully he can heal from that. Um, Bede, yeah, almost half his career he's been
Yeah.
so that's a big question mark. Number four, New Orleans. Um, Interesting team. Just traded Ingram away, which Ingram I think will be pretty good for the Raptors, but Raptors are seventh anyway in the draft. But New Orleans is a team where the Zion experience did not has not worked to its full extent that you wanted to. He can be very good. We've seen flashes, but he's just had some issues with injuries and then off the court stuff, and it's been kind of confusing with him. So you'll see what happens with that.
Yep.
Similarly with Charlotte, you have LaMelo Ball there, another guy who's rumored to get traded during the offseason. I think this Luka trade really set a lot of things into motion for like
Right.
getting stars traded because it was becoming a little bit of a taboo thing, and now you get Luka
Sure.
traded, just everything's exploding. Um, the Charlotte Hornets got some good young pieces, but they're another team where it's just like they draft well, but inevitably the people that are going to be good kind of go. I know they have Miller, who's very good, so they have young
Right.
pieces they can build around, but just not clicking for them. Washington Wizards, they're going to be pretty good soon. A lot of young players. I think
They
they're
need some time. Yeah.
yeah, they're just a team where you let them sit and cook, marinate, they'll be great. And then the Jazz are just ever since Mitchell left and Gobert left, it's just been pretty downhill for them. I believe they have Sexton, right? They got him from Cleveland. He's been okay. Markkanen, he's a good player, but he's not going to lead you to playoff wins by himself. So this
Yep.
is a big
Good.
draft for
Good
them.
point.
Um, if they get number one, I think Cooper Flag. I think he's probably the pick for most teams. I mean, just a really good
Yeah.
player.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Cooper Flag is just a generational talent. I
Yeah.
mean, you don't leave talent like that on the board ever, regardless of what like your team needs, right? If you're a team, you need Cooper Flag, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? So Cooper Flags is a great talent. He's going to have a successful NBA career. Now, when you look at some of these other teams, though, like if you're Philadelphia and you
Yeah.
sneak into the top three of the lottery, like this is where you need to be strategic.
Yeah.
Do you go get Dylan Harper, who's the number two guy on the board, great point guard, but you already have Maxi and
McCain.
McCain. There's no need to go get that. So then you need to get a talent like Ace Bailey, or do you go get some this is a very guard heavy draft. So like you need to go
Mhm.
get Ace Bailey or you need to go get um I don't know, somebody like Liam McNeely from UConn or, Con Knipple from Duke, Danny
Yeah.
Wolf from Michigan. Like that's where you got to be a little strategic.
Yeah.
Um
The 76 are just such a weird team. I'm
yeah.
one of those people where this year I'm like, you gotta find a new process. Joel Embiid it's just not working. Um,
Yeah.
as much as it probably pains Sixers fans because they love him. I know Ethan loves Joel Embiid more than
Yeah.
anyone, but I just think it's not going to work. You've tried multiple times with multiple different players, the Butler experience. Then you had, of course, the Paul George, which it's only been 1 year, but that's not working out, and it's just something's not clicking. Someone needs to go. You're gonna get rid of someone. I mean, I know Embiid's been your star, but he's not getting younger, and he's just injured.
I agree. I think it's time you end the Embiid and you maybe even ship PG off and you just start clean. You start with Maxi, you start with McCain, and you build through the draft, maybe get some pieces. And I think you'll still be a good team. You're a highly like people want to go to Philadelphia, right? People like that
Good
organization,
market.
So yeah, good market. I agree.
And
I
yeah, like
look at some of the sorry, I look at some of the other
Mhm.
just prospects that interest me. Adu Thiera from Arkansas, Cam Jones from Marquette. Just some of these guys are really quality. Some people that I have some thoughts about Janai Broom. I don't know how effective he'll be. Eric Dixon. Some of these older guys. Chaz Lanier from Tennessee, I think is kind of shows flashes of that Dalton Connect. But you look at Broom and Dixon. Some of these guys are high level scorers. Obviously, players of the year in their conference. Um, just all team first teams. Just they're older, more experienced, but they're just not NBA built guys. What do you think
yeah.
about that?
I think I agree. I think a lot of these drafts recently, I think what's been happening with like NIL, I think has really been affecting players because they years where they should be learning probably in the next level of the league, they can't get it at a time when they're more
Hmm.
likely to learn because they're younger. And I think it just really hurts them. I think some players where they care less about the NIL money, which I think is smart, and they go to league and become good players. I think that helps more. But you are seeing a lot of these players that are really good in college, but their age and what they've done just won't allow them to transfer to the NBA well.
Hmm. I
So,
agree.
and
Yeah.
I think
I'll,
NIL has been a hot topic throughout the whole thing. And I think it's great that the athletes get paid, but some of these things are getting a little out of hand, in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. I think when you getting back to the draft a little bit, when you
Yeah.
look at teams that need a point guard, Trey Johnson from out of Texas, Jeremiah Fears out of Oklahoma. Those are two guys obviously highly coveted. Jace Richardson, more of a shooting guard from Michigan State, though he declared. Um, Huge for news for BYU, who's building
Yep.
something special over there with AJ DeBanza. Robert Wright now going over there, who's a great player at Montverde, then went to Baylor. So just very interesting, some of these pieces that are coming to the draft. Very talented draft. Derek Queen
Yep.
from Maryland, I think will be super
Yeah.
talented,
He'll,
just has a great game. But yeah, those are some of the guys. If I had to give you my sneaky player to look out for in the NBA, I'll go Cam Jones from Marquette. I think he's just
okay.
got great pace, great game. He's a veteran, but he's a pro. Like he's
Yeah.
built like a pro, and he's gonna have a good career. That's my prediction.
hmm So just to wrap up the episode, anything else you want to comment on the playoffs, the draft, anything going around the league or any other sport?
Yeah. Well, obviously, we just wrapped up the NFL draft. I think that was interesting. Obviously, you're a little more well versed and have some
Yeah,
stronger
a little bit.
expertise in that.
A little bit.
So that'll be another episode for you to cover. But when I just look at the NBA, obviously, great playoffs, and it's just been super exciting to get back to a really competitive playoff scene where it seems like every series is quality,
Mhm.
and you look at series like the Nuggets and the Clippers, and like it's like that's just great basketball to watch,
Yeah.
and it's
Mhm.
kind of exciting to see that again. And then you look at the draft for me. Obviously, it's going to be really exciting. I love the draft; always one of my favorite things to see which
Yeah.
players kind of make it out, and it's just super talented. I mean, you have Cooper Flag, who is a LeBron, Wemby level
Mhm.
generational talent, and then Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey. Any other year, are their number one picks. So
Yeah.
it's just like these guys are going to be super cool to see. But yeah, I appreciate you having me
Of
back on the
course, man.
podcast.
Of
Always
course.
great to be here.
Yeah. Thank you very much for hopping on. I know it's been a while. Hopefully we can do this again and not take as
No
long.
doubt.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Overall, we went over the playoffs, who we thought would win. We got the Celtics 1-7. We have the draft, Cooper Flag probably going first in some of the markets and some of the sneaky players to look at. But overall, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm your host, John Burton, and it's been with my guests.
Josh Hur, good to see you guys.
Yep. Have a great rest of your day and see you next time. Bye.